She let out a long. An eerie electronic sound echoed from Luca's bedroom. Luca glanced at the now silent walkie. He wasn't sure what to think. Luca glanced at the now silent. He wasn't sure what to. A pit formed. Luca's mouth felt dry. Luca could feel his heart. The road leading to Beacon Pines was long and a sort of natural barrier. Kato volunteered at the library. He wasn't very social, so making him a reliable source of... If you were to ask Kato something he didn't know, he'd escape into the dusty old bookshelves. Kato was lost in his reading. Luca crooked his neck to... He gestured to the shelf. Mycological phosphorescence. The bottom corner shelf was a dusty array of only one binding was clean enough to read: cellular biology and the chemistry. The entire top level of the library, most of which were There were rarely any acts, simply a variety of existence. Sally Seashore's simple, succulent sun. Luca brushed off a smudge. 30 recipes so... Oh, the cobs, a salad-centric travel... A peek behind the curtain. The methods and ruminations of Patrick seemed one of the greatest acting by... Patrick. Beck's family moved on, giving her little time to... She would tell you she preferred... Luca shifted his feet uncomfortably. Beck pulled a coin from her pocket. Luca felt a chill. Her eyes were locked on the strange green. The nearby grass was coated in a fine... Luca watched as Beck dipped a broken tree branch into the goo. Beck's eyes widened, first small buds, which quickly bloomed and... As quickly as they had grown, the flower... Beck dropped the stick with a... Iggy took a step towards Luca, his sneer lit by the glowing puddle. Beck could see tears welling in Luca's eyes. Some things about Beacon Pines were very different, but a bully from a hayseed town is really no different from us. Beck took a deep breath and thought. Well, time to bust out the tickles. Beck lunged forward and began to tickle under Tish's arm. Tears began to form in Tish's eyes as she gasped for. Beck redoubled her efforts. Iggy's eyes darted around, a realization dawning on his face. Iggy kicked at the puddle before making his escape. Beck shook the ooze out of her hair as best as she... Chapter 4. The Best Policy. Luca paused for a moment, catching his breath. He'd only just met Beck, and somehow he already managed to drag her into this mess. Hopefully he could make it up to her. But finding Rollo was his primary concern. Roxy and Fitz looked drained. It was clear they'd spent all day. Roxy's temper could often be dismissed, but this was the most intense Luca. Her eyes were wild and unfocused, looking straight through Luca. In a torrent of rambled words, Roxy, still exhausted and angry, softened briefly. With a determined sigh, she looked up at Luca. Roxy drew herself up. Roxy tried to think of the safest place to send Luca. Luca wiped his cheeks. Looking into the puddle, Roxy rubbed. Mr. Nuncree jumped with a... Luca motioned to the phone booth. Mr. Nuncreed gently placed one of his... Luca peered up at Mr. Nuncreed. Kind eyes warmed a stern... There was a deeper emotion. It was subtle, but Luca could sense... There was a deep sadness. If Mr. Nuncreed was that worried about Rollo... Mr. Nuncreed raised an eyebrow. Mr. Nuncreed's shoulders slumped. A deep sigh bellowed from his chest. Luca attempted to take a step back. With a firm shove, Nuncreed... The door latched shut. As Luca pounded the glass, the floor, the inside of the phone booth was now a loose cap. Luca winced and pressed his hands as he braced for impact. The capsule hurried to a surprisingly... He felt a cold rush of air and opened his eyes with hesitance. Two large figures in Luca heard the deep... He nosed and... Wait. This isn't the... I know there's still much... Somehow this went wrong. Okay, let's try something. There was deeps... If Mr. Mr. Nuncreed... Mr. Nuncreed's... A deep sigh. Luca attempted... With a firm The door latched shut. As Luca pounded the glass, the floor dropped. The inside of the phone booth was now a loose capsule, plummeting. Luca winced and pressed as he braced for impact. He felt a cold rush of air. Two large figures in hazmat suits occluded his feet. Luca heard the deep, resigned voice. He nosed to the end. Wait. No, this isn't the end. I know there's still much more. Somehow this went wrong. Okay, let's try something else. Well, time to bust out the strange. Beck stared inside the only... At the sight of Iggy's clothes were drenched. Iggy's voice began to... The person at the warehouse was Rollo. glanced toward. A wave of relief washed over Luca, which was quick. Gran is going to kill me. If he hurried, he might just make it. Chapter 4. Our Harvest. Luca took a deep breath and gingerly opened the door. The house was empty. Luca was sitting by the pond, listening to small waves lap. His father sat in a folding chair in front without turning. He spoke. Why don't you grab me some nice bait? Sure thing, Dad. Luca hopped over to the tackle box. Inside was a roll. We're fishing with bees? Luca's father gave a warm chuckle. Well, you catch more fish with bees than honey. Luca closed his eyes and plucked out a bee. He could feel its wings struggle between his fingers. Holding it at arm's length, he hurried over. His father died. Interesting choice. With a practiced flick of the wrist, the line buzzed in a graceful arc. The water accepted it without the wrong choice. But the pond began to freeze. Sometimes we gotta make the wrong choice before we pallid ice propagate. Luca scrambled back as the dad. Sorry, kiddo. Understand. The relentless ice shot through the fish. Dad, look out! His father casually wound. None of it's your fault. Dad, we have. Luca grabbed his father's shoulders, trying to pull him. Please, you have to run. The ice crackled as it spread. That's the thing about fishing, Luke. His chest began to crystallize. You toss your hook in, and you never know what you're gonna. A shock of searing cold ran up Luca's arms. The chair tipped backwards in a single frozen mass. Luca tried to stop the momentum, but he watched the icy form of his father. Dad, I don't understand. What does all this mean? The gentle rustle of leaves was the... Luca's eyes struggled to focus on the walkie-talkie. Faintly, he could hear Rollo amongst... Rollo's voice was coming through more clearly now, but some words were still just static. The signal went silent. Luca held still, his pounding heartbeat marking the path. Lolo's voice began to fade. With that, the signal died for good. Luca grabbed the walkie-talkie and sprinted. Luca heard a group of footsteps. He dashed behind the bushes to avoid being spotted. Mr. Tolliver paused, shifting his eyes to one side. Mr. Tolliver took one long, quiet breath. The three shared a... Luca could only see a cloaked shape behind. He strained to hear as a muffled fear gripped Luca's throat. Luca stared at the ground for a moment, trying to... The figure shifted slowly. Luca reached over empathetically. Iggy's tone jolted to dejected. Luca slumped to the ground, overwhelmed by guilt. Iggy slumped to his knee. Luca grabbed the walkie-talkie and headed for the window. Luca and Iggy climbed up a mission control defense cannon. From behind the crowd of clipboards, William Kerr strode forward. Kerr's smile. Luca's grip tightened on. Luca's mind raced. He was caught. Iggy wiped his cheeks with a sleeve. What are you gonna do, Luca? He swung the mission control defense cannon around, aiming it confidently at the smirk. Luca summoned his most insolent demeanor. Kerr turned his back on the two. With a nonchalant wave of the hand, he made. As the clipboards began to slowly advance on the treehouse, Luca looked to the end. That escalated quickly. Maybe discretion was the better. Let's put a pin in this for now. Luca swung the mission control defense cannon around, aiming it. Luca summoned his most insolent. Kerr turned with a nonchalant wave of the hand. As the clipboards began to slowly advance on the treehouse, The end. That escalated quickly. Let's put a pin in this for now. This is a story about struggle. Luca could hear a machine humming somewhere. He felt around wildly, searching for... His hands found a hard object. He yanked it free, lifting the cold ledge. Luca swung the tile as hard as he could at the shape. He heard the crack of glass as this, with a muffled yelp, the hand let go. Luca was free and scrambled to the door. He never looked back once on the long... Chapter 3. Everything's fine. The next morning, it was only the sound of silver. Luca checked the soles of his sandals. Eris Valentine had a way of making questions. Mr. Wilder had learned to. It was because she had taken... Mr. Wilder averted him. Huddled at his counter, more accurately, Hiram Tolliver was meticulous. With a yelp, Mr. Tolliver... He leaned forward. He leaned in a bit. Mr. Tolliver leaned back, He reached forward and snapped up the jar. He leaned in for a final whip.
We all know Beacon Pines is a great town. What you may not know is great towns grow from mighty roots. And that is why you cannot tell the story of Beacon Pines without telling the story of one Sharper Valentine. Young Sharper's keen intellect and strong moral fiber led to a grand vision. A vision of a community dedicated to a better tomorrow. In his own words, a better tomorrow is within our grasp, but it requires a singular mind to harness it. Lucky for us, he decided to grow that vision here, in Beacon Pines. And how does one grow a better tomorrow? With fertilizer, of course. Valentine's Fertilizer Company became the lifeblood of a town yearning for purpose. But then tragedy struck, a scientific experiment gone wrong. An accident which took Sharper away from us far too soon. To this day, we struggle to pick up the pieces. But one foul harvest isn't enough to stop the people of Beacon Pines. The spirit of Sharper Valentine lives on. It lives in the hearts of everyone with a dream for a better tomorrow. Together, we will follow his example and grow a bountiful future. Paid for by the Valentine family and the Valentine Fertilizer Company Riverfront Fund.
Mr. Nuncreed eyed Luca for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Luca handed the jam to Mr. Nuncreed, and he nestled it with both hands. Kato motioned to the book in front of him. Jeff's hardware closed down about a year ago. The effects of the foul harvest when there are no crops in the field. Dawn had dreamed at night. By day, she hawked paper. She leaned forward and picked. Luca shifted the basket uncomfortably. Mrs. Fratelli lifted the cloth. Luca squinted at the fade. Memories of that day came flooding. Luca glanced at the empty seat. Jeff slapped the table and gave Luca a Beck locked eyes with Luke. The look on her face was equal parts expect. Beck gave Luca a quick nudge. Jeff dug through his pocket. Beck took a long breath. Chapter 4. Dinner with the Moodwills. Ilona Moodwill was worried about change. A gardener at heart, she understood that, but there was a difference between the controlled world of her plants and this cluttered. Almost done. Nellie was a blur of activity, digging through boxes. Sorry, love, couldn't find the dishes. We'll have. Dinner went by without much conversation. As she watched Beck and Luca finish up their pizza, Ilona let herself relax into the things she cared about were still here. Nellie finally had the job of her dreams. Beck was beginning to take root. Ilona's task was simply to tend. She could do that. Luca's eyes were fixed to his plate, pushing a chunk of pineapple. Nellie was the one who eventually broke the... Ilona nervously nervously gestured Luca wiped his face with his sleeve. Beck gave Luca a swift kick under the table. Luca glanced over to Beck. Beck slammed her fist into the table, perhaps harder than she intended. Luca glanced outside to gauge the time. The sky was darker. Luca wiped his mouth one. Surprised, Luca turned around. But Beck seemed cool. Rolla would warn, probably. Luca began to respond, but the sky answered for him as the clouds above began to break, revealing patches of star-filled summer night. Moonlight filtered down. Luca stopped himself mid-sentence. Luca saw Beck skulking by the gate. Beck grabbed the wrought iron bars and shook the gate. Beck's voice was an excited whisper. The mysterious figure retracted their mask. A chill ran down Luca's spine. His vision blurred. Beck stifled a sharp wince, and Luca looked down to see. Gran tousled her hair back under the face mask. Gran gave Eris a curt nod. Chapter 5. What big ears you have! Lucas sat shivering in the bushes. After checking to make sure the coast was clear, Beck gave him a gentle tug.